The late afternoon sun cast a golden glow over the park, stretching long shadows across the grass. Daniel Parker sat on a warm wooden bench, a paper cup of cheap coffee warming his hands, watching his 8-year-old son, Liam, kick a scuffed soccer ball back and forth. Children's laughter floated through the air, a comforting reminder that, despite life's hardships, small, perfect moments still existed. Daniel had learned to treasure them ever since his wife passed, leaving him to navigate fatherhood, bills, and odd jobs alone. He was lost in thought when a pacing scream ripped through the calm. His head snapped toward the sound. Near the swings, a little girl, no older than 6, stood frozen, eyes wide with terror. A man in a dark hoodie sprinted toward her, one arm raised, a pistol gleaming in the sunlight. Time seemed to slow, but Daniel's instincts surged before fear could paralyze him. He sprang to his feet, coffee spilling onto the grass, and ran with everything he had. The girl's small frame was trapped between the swings and the approaching danger. Daniel reached her just as the man's finger tightened on the trigger. A gunshot cracked like thunder. Pain seared into Daniel's side, hot and deep, yet he didn't falter. He wrapped his arms around the girl, pulling her to the ground, shielding her with his body. She trembled, clutching his sleeve, her eyes wide. In the distance, people shouted, some screaming, others calling for help. The gunman's eyes widened as the voices drew nearer. And just like that, he turned and bolted toward a waiting car, tires screeching as it sped away. Daniel's knees buckled, the world tilting as blood seeped through his shirt. He tried to focus on the girl's tear-streaked face hovering above him. "It's okay," he rasped, voice weaker than he intended. She shook her head, lip trembling. "Don't die," she whispered. "Please don't die." The sound of sirens grew louder, rushing toward them. Yet Daniel felt her small hands gripping him, grounding him in the chaos. A sleek black SUV screeched to a stop at the playground's edge. From the passenger side, a woman in a tailored navy suit and sharp heels leapt out, her hair slightly tousled, scanning frantically until her gaze fell on the small figure kneeling beside Daniel. "Sophie." Her voice broke as she ran across the grass, wrapping the little girl in her arms. Sophie sobbed into her mother's expensive blazer, afraid to let go. Olivia Grant held her tightly, then lifted her gaze to Daniel. For a brief moment, the powerful CEO's mask slipped, replaced by raw gratitude and shock. You saved my daughter," she said, voice trembling. Daniel blinked against the dizziness, managing a faint smile. That was all that mattered. Paramedics arrived swiftly, lifting him onto a stretcher. Olivia leaned closer, shadow falling over him. "I'm Olivia Grant," she said quietly, "and I don't forget debts." Daniel, light-headed, only caught the weight behind her words. Sophie, unwilling to leave his side, clutched his hand. "You're my hero," she whispered, conviction in her trembling voice. Olivia gently pulled Sophie back as they wheeled him toward the ambulance. In that brief moment before the doors closed, he caught something in her eyes, a silent promise that this encounter was only the beginning. 2 days later, the hum of hospital machines filled the sterile room where Daniel lay, propped on thin pillows. Pain in his side dulled by medication, yet reality pressed on him. Missed work, medical bills, a son waiting at home. The door creaked open. Olivia stepped inside, instantly changing the room's atmosphere. Gone was the polished CEO. Today she wore a simple cream sweater and dark jeans, hair loosely tied back. She set down a paper bag, the aroma of herbs drifting out. "Homemade chicken soup," she said softly. "My mother's recipe." Daniel managed a small smile. "That's kind of you." Olivia's gaze lingered, unreadable. After a pause, she said bluntly, "I looked into you. Single father, part-time construction work, behind on rent for 2 months. Daniel stiffened. Pride bristled. "I didn't save Sophie for a reward," she continued, softening. "I know. That's why you deserve one." She stepped closer, voice dropping. "I own Grant Enterprises. I can make sure you and your son never struggle again." Stable job, healthcare, whatever you need. Daniel shook his head. I'm not a charity case. At that moment, Sophie patted around Olivia's leg, holding a folded piece of paper. She handed it to Daniel, a crayon drawing of 2 stick figures under a big red heart, with me plus hero scrawled unevenly. Daniel stared, warmth stirring in his chest. Sophie offered a hopeful smile. Olivia looked down at her daughter, then back at Daniel. This isn't charity, she said quietly. It's gratitude, and maybe the start of something else. Daniel realized she hadn't come out of obligation. There was something deeper in her eyes, unspoken but undeniable. Weeks passed, and Daniel's life began to change. Olivia covered his medical bills, arranged him a steady job with benefits, and the children, Liam and Sophie, became inseparable. Afternoons in the park, zoo trips, drawing on the living room floor. What started as gratitude grew into shared dinners, school pickups, and late-night coffee talks. Beneath her polished exterior, Daniel discovered Olivia laughed easily and cared fiercely. One cool Friday evening, they met at a small diner after the kids' community event. A passerby recognized Daniel. You're the guy who took that bullet, he said. Daniel nodded, glancing at Olivia, who smiled quietly. Sophie darted ahead to Liam, examining a bookstore display. Olivia's hand brushed against Daniel's. You didn't just save Sophie that day, she said softly, voice vulnerable. You saved me, too. I'd forgotten what it felt like to have someone stand between me and the worst life could throw. Daniel looked at her, streetlights catching gold in her eyes. Somewhere between that terrifying park day and this quiet evening, they had stopped being strangers. They had become a fragile, undeniable family. Sophie waved, laughter ringing through the night. Daniel breathed deeply, feeling the past month's weight melt into certainty. He hadn't just taken a bullet for a little girl. He had stepped into a new life, built on trust, love, and a connection that changed everything.